All right, hey, we are live here.
There we are.
Good morning.
We made it.
Welcome to Indie Talk today.
It's 9 a.m. Bright and early. We're here.
9
we
a.m.
made it.
somewhere? Nope. Can't be 1 minute off. We were getting reminded that podcasting doesn't work so well in the broadcast world.
It did not work well. You guys have been a minute late, and there would have been a minute black time.
Yeah.
There would have been a black screen up there with nothing on there.
Nothing happening.
They'd have been upset. Well, we'd been getting reamed. Oh, gosh.
Yeah,
but we do have a great guest with us today.
We do.
We got Rod Wilson going to be representing the Downtown Association today.
You guys have a big event that you guys do every year, and that's coming up here in the next couple of weeks. Tell us a little bit about it.
June 13th, right there.
Okay.
There's a ticket right there.
There you go.
He's got it.
Yeah.
Hold it in front of the camera.
Yeah, there we go.
Straight up and toasted. This will be number 4.
Wow.
And so, yeah, it's our biggest fundraising. And I might go back a little bit. Downtown Association, it's been 4 or 5 years ago. One of the things that kept coming up to us is that, geez, do you remember all those great lights Christmas lights we used to have downtown? And well, they got destroyed, and during a lot of the construction. So we said, well, how are we going to raise money? So I had been doing these types of events, and this one happens to be bourbon and cigars. And
Sure.
Why is it bourbon and cigars? Well, because we had access to perhaps one of the best podcasters in the bourbon world, and her name is Rebecca Neely. Rebecca Neely is from Minot.
Yep. Yeah.
And so she, anyway, she was available, and I said, well, just kind of planning to see how'd you like to come to Minot. Well, in the meantime, she had gotten married, and she was Rebecca Bolton. She got married to Neely, Royce Neely.
Okay.
Royce Neely, and if she'll tell you this, has been doing moonshine for many generations. Well, you can talk about moonshine. Well, moonshine right now is legal.
Yeah, sure.
And as they bring, they can bring bourbon up here, but the moonshine, it's legal, and
it's a lot different process than it used to be too now.
it is.
Yep.
I mean, there are still stills back in the woods.
Sure.
But the Neelys bought land for a distillery, and they had kind of been doing it. They bought it, and it's right next to she says right next to the racetrack in Kentucky, and it is. It's right there in Sparta, Kentucky. I mean, you can actually see from you're standing on their front porch. You can see the Neely distillery. You can see the racetrack from that point.
Oh, wow.
So we decided we would do a bourbon and cigar event.
I love it.
We knew it wasn't going to be for everybody.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, we've had a lot of different people there over the years, and so it's an event where once they pay in this case, it's $50 for the ticket. It gives them 3 shots of signature Neely Distillery bourbon. Now, why is that special? Why can't I just go to the bar and or to the bottle shop and buy bourbon? And you can. But what happens is she will tap. Like an example is, 2 years ago, she had sent me a bottle of Neely bourbon, and it had been off what they call a single barrel, and she had tapped it and put it in a bottle and sent it to me, and I had it on my shelf, and I suppose it would normally sell because it's a high single barrel bourbon, probably $50 for a bottle.
Sure.
Oh.
Well, while it was sitting on my shelf, they took it to San Francisco, that same vintage, and it went platinum.
Yep.
And it won platinum. So all of a sudden, my
This
bourbon,
$50
my
bottle.
$50 bottle went from 50 to like $350.
Wow.
in like one day. And
That's awesome.
Overnight,
I
yeah.
had to tell my wife, if I could invest that way in everything, she didn't buy that. She said, you don't need bottles of bourbon here.
Yeah,
That's the way it is. But that's how it works. And so she actually goes, the bourbon that they'll get at our event, she taps it, and if she doesn't like it, and she's their taster. She's the one that she picks every bourbon that they bottle. She picks every bourbon that they send to any of the competitions. And over this past year, they have been running their tails off, going to events, because they are kind of a signature. You know, people ask them, well, how are you doing things? How is Neely working? How does it all work? And so that's why we have Rebecca Neely here, and that's why they get 3 signature bourbons. And then she tells you how to drink them.
Okay, interesting.
You know,
there's a whole science to this.
Yes, there is a science. I wouldn't have believed it, but there is a science to it. So they get food. The food will come this year from Bowen's Barbecue.
Okay, that'll be very good.
And then there's cigars, and not everybody has to smoke cigars. There's an inside area where nobody smokes, obviously. There's an outside area where those people are out there smoking cigars.
Gotcha.
And we have a big stick out of cigars out of Mandan is our cigar vendor. She's the only cigar lounge. Her name is Josette Dupre, and she's the only cigar lounge in North Dakota in downtown Mandan. Again, she is a cigar connoisseur, if there is such a animal.
If there's an expert on cigars in the state.
If there is one, she's it.
She's it. That's great.
And then there's live auctions, and there's a live auction and a silent auction. So that's kind of how the night is, and we don't want any pressure on anybody. It's a 5 o'clock, 10 o'clock thing, and have fun.
You just kind of peruse around, get to enjoy yourself, meet some people, sit back and relax a little bit.
Yep. And Rebecca does some talking, and and she's bringing her hubby this time. Royce is coming up. He's a master distiller, and to get him here is almost an act of God. But he's coming this year, so the two of them will work the crowd.
Okay.
So if you have a question, well, why is this or why is that or anyway, so at the top of the auction items, and I've taken the tour. Is a tour of the Neely Distillery in Sparta.
Oh, wow.
And you spend you spend a whole day with Rebecca.
Wow.
And she takes you through the whole system and you'll sit down, and some of the people have had lunch with her. Really depends on when they get there. And the top of that, at the very end of that, because as she takes you on a tour, because she took us on a tour, it was down there last fall, and I bought a 2.5, 3 hour tour. You get to taste the bourbon from where it's over there, and that's where the mash is. And, and it is sour. It is nasty stuff. And then you come all the way back through the stills. There's the stills there. There's a big still. I forget what they call it. It's their large still, but it's been around. It's been around since the moonshining days.
Okay.
Anyway, so she taps one off of that still.
Yeah.
And that tastes like bourbon. I could
start getting into the real game there.
And then she takes you to where the fermenting area, and she'll go into one of the fermenting barrels, and she'll pull out just a little bit,
tap,
and you'll put that in. That'll pretty much peel paint.
Wow. Wow.
That's pretty strong stuff. It's 150 proof.
Ooh, make your hair stand up with that one.
And then it goes, it doesn't end up being that, but so. And then at the end of that, we didn't get to do it because we didn't buy a tour. So the person, whoever buys it in the live auction, gets to go up in their what they call their casting houses, which were rows and rows and rows of whiskey barrels.
Okay.
And you could walk, and you walk until you say, "This is the barrel."
Okay.
You pick one,
and you pick a barrel, and then she puts a spigot on it, and you're the first one to taste it.
Okay.
And then after you taste it, if you have 2 or 3 people with you, and that's the other thing, you can take 2 or 3 people with you. So if you
that's
have a
nice.
group of 4, it's a nice tour. You get to taste it.
Wow.
And then after you taste it and she tastes it, you get to name it.
Oh, wow.
That's your whiskey, and you get a bottle of it.
Interesting.
When they finish it, when they start bottling it, you get a bottle of it shipped to you.
That's neat. Hopefully it goes platinum.
Yeah.
Hopefully it goes platinum.
Yeah.
It sits on, and the people that 2 years ago named it Rye Not Minot because it was a rye.
Oh,
that's
rye whiskey, which I'm kind of Canadian, and the Canadians drink a lot of rye.
Oh, you betcha.
That's their deal. So it's a great tour. At the end of this, we hope to make money for the downtown, and we put up 2 blocks of lights, and we bought the new Christmas tree. So it's just that's where the money goes.
Right, reinvest it into Minot essentially. Yeah, so it sounds like it's gonna be a great event. Obviously, coming up on the 13th. You already mentioned goes from 5 to 10 p.m. But let's talk about maybe downtown Minot just for a minute, because that's where it's going to go. You guys are a vibrant community that has been growing a lot of investment. We heard a little bit about it, about the lights. That's one of the big projects that you guys have going on.
There's the Citizens Corner down there too.
Citizens
Or
Alley.
Citizens Alley.
Excuse me. Yep.
And I just talked to Jessica Ackerman yesterday. The whole scope of the downtown is, and I was telling you guys that, you know, it's in a lot of independent businesses.
Yep.
There are people that want to run their own show, and they don't want to be told by a mall that they have to open on such and such time and close,
Right.
you know, and so it's an independent group. Everybody in, you know, I guess that's what I've learned. You know, I'm a newspaper person.
Right.
I don't run retail. But what I've learned about being downtown is that pretty much if you walked into somebody's store and asked them, you know, what's your dream, they have a dream.
Mm-hmm.
You
Okay.
know, this is what I'd like to do. And that's what downtown is. It's a lot of businesses where people have a dream and they have their own business, you know, nobody's telling them how to do it.
Right.
And, you know, a lot of people come in, this is their first time they've been in business. And downtown's a great place to be for that.
Oh, for sure.
You know, and over the years, once we got through the project of all the infrastructure underneath the streets, there was a couple of rough years. It started to grow, and I think, you know, that was a couple of years where it was, and then we went through COVID.
Yeah.
You know, and
That was always something.
and we made it through COVID, and so right now, you know, we're expanding, like you're talking about Citizens Alley, the new silos. The union silos.
Big
That
art project.
That project is underway. You know, so if you think about downtown, you think, well, that's not part of downtown. Well, it is all part of downtown.
Right.
That's where we're headed. We're going to end up in that area. Citizens Alley is. I talked to Jessica yesterday. And the caveat to that is, you can come down and bid on a 1 hour on the next winter on the ice with their little go-karts or whatever they're called.
Neat.
Okay.
Yeah, I missed this.
Eight people.
Okay.
8 people are going to, you know, so you'll be able to bring 8 people. So you get your own own hour on that.
Oh, that's
you know, you're 8 people. So I think that would be,
That's fantastic.
Fantastic time.
so Citizens Alley on the one end, if you've gone through downtown and you're saying, well, it looks different now, the facade program has
been
made a huge difference. People are being told, you're being helped to bring their buildings into what it looked like back in the old days. So that's been a big one. There are 2 or 3 businesses looking at downtown. You know, it's a slow process. Number one is there are buildings available. And then once you find a building, you say, now what am I going to do with it?
Exactly.
And, you know, and then how am I going to make it? I think the latest person to move downtown is the backdoor shop. You know, the one that does the consignment shop.
Yep.
Oh, sure.
They're
Yep.
right next to, you know, I can walk up and tell you, well, they're right next to Margie's and
Yeah.
on the other side of Cookies for You. Or
Right.
so,
You know, downtown like the back of your hand. Very cool.
Is there any estimated time of finishing the Citizens Alley? Do they have a rough estimate
they're
yet?
supposed to be done, then have their first real event in there on July.
Okay.
Gotcha.
The
Exciting.
Thursday nights are going to move to that area.
That's fantastic.
And I think that's great. Everybody's like, well, you know, was it bad to move off of Main Street? Well, in order to be on Main Street, you had to close Main Street.
Right. Yep.
And that meant that no parking from about 3 o'clock on. And that's part of the allure of downtown is a lot of people who are older like to park in front of the building
Yep.
and walk in.
Yep.
And that's the way it used to be. And, you know, I'm from Maddock, and, you know, you'd never park any more than in front of the door in Maddock if you wanted to go into business. So that'll be done. The union silos, they say, will be done at the end of this year. I just, you know,
That's a big undertaking.
I find that amazing, but if that's what he says, that's what he says. That'll be cool when that's all finished. So, yeah,
Very
and other than that, like I said, there's some that I can't really tell you.
Oh, my.
People are looking downtown.
Secrets.
And
Some possible
I like
brewing.
it. I'm the one that everybody comes and says I was president for so many years.
Yeah.
Everybody says, well, what buildings are available in downtown? I said, let me show you. So
Let me show you.
I can take you right there.
We'll just take a walk here.
No, I love it. It's downtown Minot's a great place. Obviously, you mentioned the facade program. The Renaissance Zone has definitely helped out a few places down there too.
Great help.
Yep.
And so the events during the summer, after Straight Up and Toasted, we're kind of, I guess we kind of take a break. And our next big event is September 6th, and that will be the Fall Festival.
Okay.
And it's going to be bigger this year than it's, the Fall Festival, again, took a hit during COVID, and it was tough to bring back. But we're bringing it back this year. It's bigger, more blocks blocked off. If you're going to block off downtown, block off downtown.
Might as well do the whole thing at that point, right?
And this year it's the same weekend as Minot State's homecoming, and the parade goes down, I guess it'd be First Street on the other side of us. So they don't come down Main Street because we're going to be set up. But last year it worked just fine. They went around the outside of us, and when the parade was gone by, everybody came into downtown. It was kind of cute.
That's fun. That's a great little timing. It works out perfectly. They can just go hand in hand with each other.
The more you can schedule down there, the better.
Yeah. No,
But two big events going on in June in downtown, right?
Yes, there is.
One, June 13th, Straight Up and Toasted, 5 p.m. to 10 p.m. The other one, of course, June 17th, Mayoral debate. We know everybody knows about that.
Everyone's going to be
We'll
there.
talk about that. We'll talk about that later.
June 17th at the Mouse House.
Yes, it's going to be a good
Mouse
time.
River Players.
Yeah.
That'll be a good place for it. So.
Be a fantastic venue. They got great little stage set up down there, plenty of seating. It's going to be great.
Yep,
but
it will be.
June 13th, Straight Up and Toasted, 5 p.m. to 10 p.m. If people want to buy tickets, what's the best place for them to do that?
Yeah, I couldn't get off with the podcast without bringing that up. And we're going to talk about that too, is that I'm going to give people a chance to win tickets.
We're going to have a giveaway on the show today.
Right.
I like it.
Two tickets.
Okay.
They can pick them up. I work at the Northern Century. The Northern Century is located at the south end of Main Street, kitty corner from the old Trinity ER and the main medical. So if and you guys are going to have to pick out, they have to, what do you say, have to have a comment?
Yeah, make sure you comment on this video today, and you can just say I'm in, something like
positive.
that. Yeah, be
something
positive.
Negative comments don't you
make sure you get it in
by
by
a positive comment, about downtown. So, or about Straight Up and Toasted. So anyway, we're going to give away 2 tickets. They're $50 a piece, by the way, and so that's a
huge value.
Great
that's
value.
$100 worth of tickets.
Yeah, right there.
That's all I have to do. And downtown, they can go at downtownminot.com. They're online right now. They're also available at The Spot and at Margie's and at Gourmet Chef and at Cookies for You.
Very good.
Fantastic.
And I have them in my car, but I'm not, the Northern Century office is not a high traffic office.
Look for the Northern Century Mobile.
So I'll be high traffic enough to give whoever wins these tickets their tickets. So
very cool.
They're available. We only sell 100 tickets.
Oh wow!
Limited event.
So we know how many. I think online this morning I checked, there was 25 or 30 that had bought tickets. I don't know.
Gotcha.
Somewhere in that, but we only sell 100. Somebody said, "Well, why only sell 100?" Well, you can only bring so much bourbon.
Right. Yeah, this is fair.
You got to figure out how much you can get here.
The Spot's a big place, but it's still.
But anyway, that's the limiting factor. If you're gonna bring signature bourbon, and it truly is signature bourbon, they're not gonna buy it anyplace else, and it's absolutely better bourbon than you'll buy anywhere.
Yeah.
You have to, like she's got to take 3 barrels, pick 3 different barrels, and she's got to take up to 6 different bottles out of that barrel.
Right.
And so we get them
crazy.
with, it's kind of cool. It's like, it almost seems like moonshine because she puts tape on them that this is this or this is that, or, so.
Back to the alcohol.
So that's why we're limited. We're not, and if people want to come and just be part of the auction, they certainly can. But,
gotcha. It sounds like some really great items in the auction.
Oh gosh, I've had a lot of fun doing it.
Yeah.
I do a lot of they have a Woodland Resort in Devil's Lake is giving us 2 days and a free pontoon. That was a big one.
Wow, that's tremendous.
Right. A lot of great stuff.
But anyway, the prizes have been, like Y Camp scholarships, I'm just trying to think of some of the other ones that I've got. The Citizens Alley one is great.
Yeah, that's.
And we sent out an email to all the downtown merchants and asked them for donations. They've been great. That's why we're going to have a list probably next week. Right away, probably Tuesday we'll have a list after we do our meeting of the items that are on the auction. So go to the downtown Minot and look and say, hey, I'd like to be part of that auction. So
awesome.
Yeah, it's gonna be a fantastic time.
Appreciate you coming on, telling us all about it. Again, we'll throw up that graphic on the screen again. Straight Up and Toasted, June 13th, 5 p.m. to 10 p.m. downtown at the spot. Sounds like a great time. Yeah. And if you're interested in winning free tickets, then just comment on this podcast while we're live here. Yep. And we'll get you entered in, and we'll announce those winners so you can stop by Northern Century office and pick it up.
That's perfect.
I love it.
Awesome. Appreciate you coming on. We're going to cut to a quick break, and then we'll be back in just over a minute.
Perfect.
In the demanding world of oil and gas, precision, safety, and efficiency are non-negotiable. Unmanned operator drone services revolutionizes how you monitor, inspect, and manage your operations. With cutting-edge technology and expert operators, we deliver real-time data, detailed reports, and actionable insights for our valuable clients. Why risk the safety of your team or waste precious time? Our drones access even the most challenging areas with ease, reducing downtime and enhancing safety across your sites. We take the guesswork out of your projects by offering LiDAR, mapping, and inspection services so that your projects stay safe, on budget, and on time. Unmanned operator drone services, where technology meets safety, precision, and efficiency. Contact us today to elevate your operations. Yes.
Enjoy Minot's finest authentic Mexican cuisine with a view at Mi Mexico. The rooftop patio is open and ready for you to enjoy a margarita or other cool refreshment along with genuine mouth-watering Mexican entrees. Mi Mexico, South Broadway.
It's great having Rod on.
Oh, that was fantastic. Rod's such a knowledgeable guy, has been with the Downtown Business Association for years, knows it obviously like the back of his hand. If you have any questions about it, he is definitely going to be the first guy to go to on it.
Absolutely. And so, like we said, all throughout the show, make sure you leave a comment, and you'll be entered in to win some tickets.
Yeah, it can be a great event. 13th. I'll be there, Straight Up and Toasted.
If you want to meet Kyler, be there.
Yes. And we have a big announcement to make. Speaking of Downtown Minot and the debate.
You don't even care. You're just... We have a lot of big announcements on this show. Yes, we have a ton today. This is actually... going to be one of our biggest. It's going to be a really good broadcast. It already has been really good. Yep. And we have a lot to talk about. And I'm just making Kyler wait.
Yeah, I know. Can we make our big debate announcement?
So today we're going to talk about a vote that went down on Minot.
Yes, big vote on Tuesday.
Mayoral polling data.
I got sunburned for that.
You poor thing.
I know.
Job Corps shutdown.
Yeah. Unfortunately, that just took place.
Measles.
That is happening
It's also taking place.
Yes.
Freedom League.
Yeah, that was going on in Bismarck yesterday.
And something that is kind of like almost history making, this Burley auditor request for removal that's finally been delivered to the governor.
Mm-hmm. This is some things that we haven't seen in the state for decades taking place with that.
Kyla looked into this around the time that things were going on with our mayor position.
I know in the 80s, there was a county sheriff that was removed by the governor. And that's, from what I could find, the closest similar parallel.
And we also have something else that's record-breaking.
Well, yeah, we do.
History making.
Going to make history.
History making. Go ahead, Kyler.
So, June 17th. We are hosting a mayoral debate. It's going to be a great event. It's taking place at 6 p.m. in downtown Minot. It's at the Mouse River Players Theater, and we will obviously be live broadcasting it on our social medias, on our Facebook and our YouTube, but you're going to find it in one other very special place. It's going to be on 106.9 K-Hits, Minot's newest and favorite radio station.
Boom.
Yep, we're going to be able to be broadcasting live on K-Hits. It's going to be a great time. As Joe says, it's great music with idiots that talk too much. That's a quote from Joe, by the way. So
Tyler's throwing stones this morning.
Whoa. know. Joe told me to even say that. But no, it's freshly nostalgic. K-Hits 106.9. They've been open for a couple months now. Tom Schrader, Joe Goldaddy have been running it. Been a fantastic time so far. And June 17th, 7 p.m. is when the debate starts. That's when you can expect to hear us on the radio.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's we found that out yesterday and we were so excited.
Yeah. Got that confirmed last night and locked in, and that was a great situation. So Joe, Tom, thanks to you guys. Big shout out to you. Yeah. And we look forward to it. It's going to be a great event.
Yep. So make sure that on June 17th that you know where you should be.
Exactly.
You know where you should be.
It is free admission. Seating is limited, but make sure you get there early so you can make sure you get a spot. And I think that's our big debate news, at least for today. I don't know if we have anything other on the debate, but we do have a lot of other things in general, like Jonathan was mentioning.
Well, we do have other stuff on the debate.
Do we? What else do we have to announce on it?
Well, I don't know that it needs to be announced.
I think you made a very big post last night about something.
I made a very big post about something. And
guess
what?
Well, people are going to be able to ask their own questions now.
Well, if you would just stop trying to break all the news and let things go organically they're supposed to.
You made so many graphics.
All right.
I'm just so
You
excited.
can submit your questions for the mayoral debate. We will drop that link down in the comments. And there's already been people that have been submitting them. A lot of great questions coming in. There was one person that wanted to know how tall each candidate was. And we thank you for your question. Kyler.
Well, I had to make sure the submission system was working.
You weren't even the first one to submit.
Well, I had to make sure.
What were you making sure?
That it worked still. Maybe,
It did.
Maybe I had to make sure it worked for me.
Okay, well, it did. Okay.
I love it. No,
So we'll find that out for you, buddy.
we'll see what happens with that. But make sure you check the comment section out.
We just dropped the link down in the comments of this live stream. You can go and click that link. It'll bring you to a page that has some information on the event, but it will also have a form that you can fill out to submit your question for the mayoral debate. Scott Burlingham says, and this is going back to some things that will be happening in Citizens Alley. Sound of Independence is going to be celebrating 30 years of breaking barriers in Citizens Alley on August 7th.
Well, that's awesome. Independence they do great work here in the city. Scott does a great job with them. So make sure if you guys are in the area for that, definitely check it out. Gonna have a great. I can only imagine that'll be a great event.
Yeah,
Citizens Alley is going to have so much fun stuff going on when that gets opened up.
Yeah,
that's going to be a huge thing for downtown Minot. Really look forward to that.
Absolutely. So make sure that you drop your
comments down
so you can be submitted to win a drawing. All right, let's get into some news. We've danced everywhere.
All right, what do you want to start with today, Jonathan?
Minot votes down 0.5% sales tax. Thoughts?
Well, my biggest takeaway, 1,933 people voted.
Yeah, it's crazy, way low.
Yes, an abysmally low voting turnout.
So what does this mean for us?
Well, what were the numbers that we agreed on?
Yeah, I still don't feel like it was for this vote.
Right, we can push it to the mayor one.
Because people feel like it was. People feel like it was.
I think we implied that it was.
And so I get to get ice dumped on me.
It's going to be a great time.
Really?
Where are we going to do it? When and where? How about that?
It needs to be done before the debate.
Okay. Are we going to do it live?
No.
Okay, we'll pre-record it.
It's going to be pre-recorded, though, and it will be played.
Okay. That'll be fantastic. So make
Really?
sure. I think it's going to be great. I'm going to have a blast with it.
Okay, I'm glad somebody's going to enjoy that.
So make sure you're following along so you can see Jonathan's fantastic situation of getting ice dumped all over his head.
Yeah, it's going to be fantastic. We're just all looking forward to it.
Brings me back to my high school days when this was a big thing, like 10 years ago when everyone was doing the ice bucket challenge.
You know, getting back to the point of this, 25 votes.
Yeah,
25 votes.
Such a narrow margin. It was 954 to 979, just an incredibly small margin.
People say their vote does not matter.
It does.
I was talking with somebody that said that they didn't vote. You know who you are. And it's like, dude, there's probably 25 of you.
Yeah. Or, I mean, on the flip side, there's 25 more no's out there that could have made it even less of a close margin.
So obviously this was going to help put together a 30,000 square foot turf indoor facility. As a result of this failing, the park district has said they're going to shift to maintenance mode, which will be focusing on sustaining current operations without pursuing new projects. sales tax would have generated approximately $6 million annually to fund the facility and support existing venues. They were going to be paying a lot of maintenance with this. And of course, there was some disappointment expressed by both the park board president, Perry Olson, and executive director, Ellie Deloriers, but they affirmed their commitment to working within their existing resources, emphasized continuing to provide quality parks and fields despite limited growth opportunities. Obviously, it's a difficult time right now in finances just across the board. As I say difficult, but there's just such a priority
challenging.
Challenging might be better. Navigating these caps that are coming, navigating the rise of cost of everything.
Just natural inflation going across the country. It's a lot of things all factoring in to really make it a challenging process to budget things out and also make sure everyone in Minot's not getting overtaxed.
But this is something that needs to be talked about right here. This is big. This is huge news that I'm going to say. Okay. So if people wanted huge news, like this is our second bomb right here.
Turn up the volume.
Yeah. There was less than 2,000 people that voted at this with a week of early voting.
Yeah.
And for the mayoral election, there will be no early voting.
Yeah. That is wild to me.
As of right now, that's what we've heard from the city. This is not stuff that we've heard around town. That's something that we've heard directly from the city, that there is not a plan for early voting at this point. There is absentee ballots. But there's no early voting.
So that means voting will take place the day of Election Day, likely 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. I imagine it will only be at the auditorium, as was on Tuesday. But with I feel it's a disservice to voters to not have early voting. Obviously, I might be a little biased because I'm someone that always votes early, but I think this is...
The bias is real. We can feel it.
Yeah, but I think this is something that should, at the very least, do it the day before. Have early voting on Monday. That's my thoughts.
Yeah.
I don't want to get too heavy into that one.
Right. And the week before is not the fair.
No, it's not. The fair is over that prior week. So, but it's...
I don't know if it was a facility thing, though, but they could have done it at the Ward County Courthouse.
Yeah, easily. Could have happened at the admin building downtown.
Yeah, so that's something that you want to take note of right now. No early voting for the August 5th election.
Yep. So
you're going to need to get out and vote on the day of.
So if everything stays as is right now, August 5th is the big, big day. Everybody needs to get out and vote that day. That is your only chance to vote for our mayor for the next 10 months.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. It's crazy. So, as you said, very low turnout.
Yeah.
Are you disappointed by it being voted down?
I'm indifferent, really. I understand both sides. I'm would have been fine either way. The only way I would have really been disappointed is if it was voted yes and then nobody or nothing, like it turns into another debacle of a project that could occur. But it sounded like this was well planned out and would have been okay. But again, since it's not going forward, the status quo is going to effectively stay as it is. So I'm largely indifferent towards the outcome. And again, my biggest thing is just less than 2,000 people voted.
Yeah, that's the big deal for me. I am kind of slightly disappointed. I was not a strong proponent. As you said, I think we both were undecided till probably we went and voted.
I did not know until I had the ballot in my hand.
All right, I have to choose one of these options. Yeah. Yes is higher than no. I'm slightly disappointed because I'm interested in knowing how it all play out. Mm-hmm. That being said, and some will hate me for this, but it's how I feel. I'm not convinced that I would have been in that turf facility that often because of accessibility to it. I feel like there's a lot of groups in Minot that would have had the accessibility first.
Or would have at least been in their best interest to prioritize having the first favor in that.
They would have been supporting their own interests. It would not be anybody's best interest.
Well, it would have been in that industry or that group's own best interest, not anyone else's, but their own individual at that point.
So it's very, very sad. Vote totals were 979 votes against 954 votes for 25 vote difference, a total of 1,900 and I believe it was 33
so that's
votes.
I would estimate there was roughly like 700 people that voted early. When I was there, it was at 592,
Yep.
and that was Monday morning. So throughout the day, maybe another 100 people voted early. That's probably even
That's just scary.
That's probably even on the loose end of that. But then on the day of, there was roughly 1,200 people that voted. I mean, that's a little. Everyone, if you're watching this, you are an informed voter. You are likely a person that goes out and votes. So what we're saying probably doesn't have a lot necessarily of specific relevance to you, because you probably went out and voted. You're knowledgeable. You're more informed than your average Joe at that point.
But we're gonna create a campaign. We are. Mm-hmm. We're gonna be launching it here soon of text a friend to vote, because like we've got to do something for this mayoral race. Yep. You're welcome, Daryl. We've got to do something for this mayoral race of getting people out to vote. Mm-hmm. We cannot have 2,000 people show up. Mm-hmm. I don't care who wins, but we cannot go and spend the amount of money that we're going to spend and go through this terrible, terrible season of tabling motions, of not going through a budget process without a full council. It's been awful when you look at that side of things, and then have 2,000 people show up to vote. Yeah. If we're going to do this, we got to get 5,000 people out, 6,000 people out.
That is what it really should be. I mean, even if you have 3,000 people, I was texting with someone yesterday, and friend of the show, maybe, you know how much it would cost per vote? At
how much?
Roughly $25,000. If 3,000 people showed up, that's $8.33 a vote.
Wow.
That feels like not a great deal for the taxpayers' punch at that point. So there's a little interesting caveat to this too. Minot, and obviously we live in North Dakota, so if you're 18 or older, you're eligible to vote in the state. You don't have to register to vote. There's no voter registration. So in the city of Minot, we have roughly 47,000 people based on a couple different estimates wherever you look at it. And so you take the number from the 2020 census, there's 21.2% of the population was under 18. So, you leave a little wiggle room, but you put that together, there's roughly 35 to 37,000 eligible voters in Minot based on that math. I think that's the right way to do it. And now you look at that and you have not even we're thinking we'll be lucky if we can get a seventh of that population out to vote. So, I mean, I really feel like it should be achievable, but I'm just scared it won't be.
Yeah, it's going to be sad if that doesn't happen. Mm-hmm. So that was something crazy that went down. I don't know. I'm just kind of disappointed about that. Mm-hmm. But again, if you're interested in, we're gonna plug this a lot.
We have two free tickets too, straight up and toasted, available for giveaway. Make sure you leave a comment down below, and at the end of today, we will announce the winner, and you are able to go pick them up from the Northern Century office. Just make sure you talk to Rod Wilson.
Very good, very good. All right. Something else big that happened in the Minot area. Of course, this is news that broke over the weekend, and then slowly information has been matriculating out, and we're starting to feel like we're getting to the bottom of it. Job Corps shutdown.
Yeah,
that was out of left field.
Big thing. No one really necessarily saw that coming at the start of, or I think if people felt they would have heard about it sooner than what they did at this point. No one necessarily expected to see that turn out the way it did. And not also that it was announced that it was a pausation of activities through till the end of June, but also on top of that, they sent all of the students that were living there out. Yeah. So I mean, and it's
they're calling it a pause, but that's just because they're hoping funding comes back. Yeah. Until funding it's a very much unplanned pause without an end to the pause.
No, that's the thing. That I was going to say, they call it a pause, but really there's no end in sight to that pause. Yeah. And that's, who knows when or if at this point anything will come of that. I mean, that's a very large facility, Job Corps is. It used to be a hospital back in the day. It was like 7 stories, obviously different buildings now, but I just don't know how it's going to end up playing out, because there's a lot of, you can argue, maybe you don't like the graduation or success rate that
27.4%.
Yeah, and that's an argument to be had. However,
but it's one of the hardest. Like, to be fair, these are people that are struggling. Yes, that go there, get into. Yep. That find their feet, and then out of that, there comes a success. There's a lot of success stories that come from people that said, "Hey, without that,
I'd never have gotten where I'm at.
Yeah, I don't know what my life would look like. It's not I wouldn't have gotten where I'm at. I just don't know what my life would even look like right now.
Exactly, because not everyone, but the vast majority of people that end up going there are disenfranchised in some way. They've had a rough upbringing. Things haven't worked out the way they wanted it to. Whatever the case may be, it's not the best situation they're in. So they're going here to try to get a leg up. This is maybe not the last chance, but it's close to for a lot of these people.
Yeah.
And they can go there not only to A, get out of the situation they're in, but B, they can learn discipline there, and C, they can learn a trade.
Right.
And I'll say unfortunately, looks like it's going to be closing.
So 100 to 110 staff members affected.
Yeah.
And around 120 students affected.
It's incredible.
That's a lot of people.
It's a big campus they have there. They have a little auditorium. They have like a gym in there. It's incredible how much stuff they have there.
But yeah, just a lot of people that are affected by that.
It is. You have over 200 people that are going to be affected by this. I know there was posts around town seeing if people could find a way to maybe help take in some of these affected students. And I don't know if that's progressing or anything, but I know they're still keeping an open mind to hopefully finding some funding by the end of this month. But especially with the legislative session done at the state, I'm not sure how it's going to end up playing out.
Very interesting. That's something that we'll keep an eye on. But yeah, it's not looking positive. The pause officially begins on June 30th. I think the students had an extension until June 14th to get out.
Sure.
A couple of follow-ups on the taxes. What Daryl Lees mentions, he's heard from people in Minot. Why waste my time to go vote? Because I'll tax us to death either way. So nothing matters. When it comes to votes on taxes. And I didn't hear that exact, but a close sentiment about that. Like, if I vote yes, they're still going to find a way to tax me the amount they say they're going to decrease. So I think I'd be better off just keeping it as is. Sure. There's a lot of distrust when it comes to that. And that's something somebody needs to work on that. And I feel like city council is actually trying to work on that.
They are. And one other thing, since we're on it too. Also, first off, congratulations to Dare Lees and Dan Ruby for winning the Northwest Rural Water Board elections that happened, I think, also on Tuesday. That was another big thing that took place.
That was big landslide.
Yes, it was. And that's actually that's something that it's one of those little side things that no one really thinks is anything. But that's actually something that carries a lot more weight to it than most people realize. And
it affects a lot of people not in Minot.
It does. It
affects a lot of people in the region.
Yep.
And there had been a lot of controversy that was surrounded that whole organization. They've been going through a lot. And so it's good that there's people that are active in the community. People will be able to connect with their board members and that are trusted people.
Yeah. So it'll be, good for them. Be a great, hopefully a great step for the water board to go forward from there. One big thing that I know, since we were on the subject of voting a little bit again, one thing, because I was out on Tuesday, I was doing polling around town, or not around town, at the auditorium. And I talked to quite a few people when I was out there. And one of the biggest things I heard, and it is what it is. The largest sentiment I got was people said that they didn't know about it. They didn't get good enough word for it. And there's two sides to this. One, I think the city and the park board did a good job of trying to get the message out.
I heard park board put out a number of 75 to 80 presentations that they did.
Like they'd had community meetings all around town, and they had it for the last 6 months. I think they did, and I think they did a good job. However, for whatever reason, it's not getting to people. I think there's a disconnect somewhere here, that people aren't receiving the message that it's happening, or it's not getting through to them.
But I think that's part of the danger of the special election stuff too.
This is true.
Because I don't think a lot of people wake up and hope that there's another election that they have to go to. And so
I'm alone in that boat, I know.
I was reading on Facebook, someone's like, oh, I didn't even hear about this. And it's like you're commenting on for a page that went and acknowledged that there was an election several times. So like, is that post just never getting to you? Or is that something where it's like, oh, it's whatever, probably really doesn't affect me. And then once it's passed, then you're like, oh, wait.
Just an in one ear, out the other kind of thing. As you're scrolling, you kind of see it.
And I'm sure that's Facebook, but there's also other avenues. I'm sure there's more of that going on than what people realize, because it's not a primary election. It's not a general election. Do I need to vote? And on those elections, people do know about it and they don't go out.
Yeah, exactly. When we know we have a primary election, and again, people, civics aside, we still only see a 15 to 20% turnout on the regularly scheduled election day.
I don't know what the target percentage should be, but that's low compared to other cities in the state.
Yep. And also, when I say 15 to 20, that's on the high end of of Minot's turnout in that area. But I don't know. It's one of the many problems that's going to have to be solved coming into the future. And of course, where we were talking earlier, with no early voting for the fall election, I think messaging is going to be even more important in this one.
Yeah, I do think though that there'll be a lot more awareness. People know about the mayor stuff.
Yeah,
they do.
It went national, it went global when it happened. So it's a known thing in town.
All right.
You want to do some statewide stuff, or you want to get into my polling?
No, I don't. We'll say polling till the end. We're going to go over polling data. He's has a lot of polling data.
I'm shaking. I'm so excited.
Yeah, he is. But we're saving it till the end. 6 new cases of measles over the weekend. North Dakota now has the highest, nation's highest measles rate. Thoughts on that?
What the heck?
Did not see that coming, did you?
Not necessarily. I did see the headline, but
I know. I get that.
I don't think anyone expected. So we have what? With the state's rate is high, only 34 of the country's 1,088 cases are in North Dakota. So we have the highest rate.
Still, it was like
because we have such a low
4.3 cases per 100,000 residents.
Because we have such a low amount of population in comparison to a lot of these other places, that's why our rate is inflated. But also, it still boils down to we don't want to see a measles outbreak. It's not obviously one of the deadliest things there is ever, but it's not a good thing either. You don't want to get measles.
No, you don't. So what this is creating is a lot of people saying, this is why we need to be vaccinated.
God, you're giving me fever dream flashbacks to 2020 and 2021. I don't like it. I've never enjoyed the conversation of vaccinations, and I think that people are best to take care of themselves, but also I think everyone has a responsibility to live in the community of a civilized area. So take that as you will as the biggest cop-out answer there is, but there you go.
We're learning to expect this from you.
and Rob calls you Switzerland.
Yeah.
What's your take on that?
My take is no, that it is not a vaccination problem. Well, it may be a vaccination problem, but that aside, that is a personal choice. That is a personal choice.
I agree.
That every individual can make for themselves.
Yeah.
That is my thoughts personally on the vaccination in itself. But I believe that we still have a fairly high vaccination rate.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like. I mean, it's not like it's nationally, I think it's right around the average nationally.
Right.
So, I mean, it's not like that's a overly shocking thing. I've heard rumors that people that are infected or unvaccinated people from out of state. I have no way of knowing or proving any of that. That's some rumors and stuff.
I've heard that as well, which is a whole nother topic of that we're not going to dive into today.
No. So there's a whole spread of possibilities with the situation, and you never like to see it.
That being said, 34 confirmed cases across 4 counties, with the majority among unvaccinated children aged 5 to 19.
Sure.
I think that is something, though, that will be affecting North Dakota. Not affecting North Dakota, but that's becoming more common in North Dakota. And that is the kids are unvaccinated. Mm-hmm. The parents are vaccinated, so that's why our rate is
so much lower in the younger population.
But it's going to be the next generation where it's going to be interesting, because there's been a lot more attention that's been brought to it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So even on a national level, you have political analysts and political office holders that are making this a big issue.
Right, vaccination a big issue.
Yeah.
So that will be interesting to see how that, if there's any effects that come from that in the long term. But yeah, let us know. Is North Dakota's vaccination rate too low? I think that it's an interesting question. Where do you stand on it? What should we be doing about that? Something else that happened. There's just so many headlines. This
last 2 days have been.
It's just been packed. You were down in Bismarck yesterday, man.
Yeah, there was a little event that took place at the Capitol for a new organization called the North Dakota Freedom League. It's effectively, just to summarize it, it's a caucus within the Republican Party. Their goal is to educate those that are already in the party and those that are wanting to get involved. They're trying to get a grassroots organization built and try to educate them to be better and leaders for the future, and try to get them prepared to be legislators, especially with, like, one thing they mentioned yesterday was term limits coming up. It's going to be a thing, so you're going to have a turnover rate. So on one end, you're going to have people that are remotely prepared to get into the office. And on the flip side, a lot of these people that are going to be leaving office are still wanting to serve in some way and have some kind of position somewhere. So this is either going to offer them a role to help train, or maybe help get them a position in, like, the Northwest Water Board or some other a county commission seat somewhere. It can help them transition into a different role. Right.
That's the part that I think is most interesting about it is, like, I think with all the other caucuses, and some people are like, the Republicans are already too right, and they're looking at all those things. I think at the core of it, this is something that both sides should be doing, and that's just working on training people, so that way they are more inclined to get involved in leadership roles, whatever that looks like.
Yeah, trying to get the civic engagement boosted a little bit.
Yeah, that might just be, like you said, as simple as, not as simple, because anytime you're on a board, it's a lot of work, but as simple, something that's not political, such as a rural water board, like you're mentioning, but also in districts, getting involved in districts.
Yeah.
At that level, it's a very low level in politics, but you make a huge impact.
Yeah.
And it's right there in those positions that make probably one of the largest impacts at the state level.
And so a couple of questions. It was a little mini press conference there as well. A couple of the things that happened. Questions that were asked. One, how are you going to be different from similar parties and organizations that have tried the same thing? Well, I think one takeaway I had from that is their goal isn't to be necessarily as a disruptor or a bigger force. It's more of they have a smaller, more concentrated long-term plan for this. It's, instead of trying to hopefully not flaming out within 5 years, they're hopefully going to last for 25 years kind of thing.
Gotcha.
And so my question for them was, well, do you guys plan, if there's a district that you don't like the incumbent in, would you run a candidate against them in the primary? And they said no, most likely not. Their goal is to support the nomination process, and then get the system so that whoever's being nominated by the district and is getting the Republican nomination will be the best possible candidate that there can be.
Gotcha. So they want to support that district. That's where, if you take that away, you lose a lot of power is not the right word, but you lose the input of the people that are engaged.
Yeah.
Because what happens is just people finally get out to that. And still not a lot of people, but they get out to that primary election. They override what the people that have been involved for a bit have decided on. And we've talked about that. And that's a whole nother discussion.
Yeah, and I think a balance. There is a balance to be had between those factors.
Yeah,
because you have the people that are affiliated with effectively not necessarily a fully private, but a private organization that is setting up who they think is the best candidate, versus the people that want to say they're, in this case, a Republican, but they don't like this guy, so they want this other guy that's running instead.
Right.
And there's a balance that has to be held between those. And I think this league at least is doing a good job in doing.
We'll find out.
And not rocking the boat.
Sounds like their intent is that.
Yeah.
Founded by Representative Sue Ann Olson, Minot Alderman Mike Blessum, and Rob Muntz.
Yep, District, I think 46 GOP chair.
Okay, District 46 GOP chair Rob Muntz. It begs to ask the question, and we'll ask it. We'll step on some toes here. How involved and there's actually a question that was submitted for the mayoral debate that's a little bit along these lines. How involved should city officials, city councilmen, whatever, be involved in partisan politics? What's your view?
So there's a couple sides to it. First initial take, you're in a nonpartisan position as an elected city council member, so I think you should try to at least distance yourself from some of those things. However, on the flip side, you can say that being a nonpartisan is able to be a stepping stone to get more involved in some of these bigger things. So I think that you should tread cautiously when doing so, but I don't think it should be something that has to be ruled out.
Yeah, I don't think it should be ruled out. It's something that makes me nervous, but I also I also feel like, I think this is the biggest deal, is as long as it's not long term. Some would say it's great that you're able to go down to the city or go down to the state and lobby for money and all that as a city official, and you have
be
this
completely neutral or as a completely as little bias as possible, being from the city.
Yeah, well, yeah,
rather
and
than having
either way though,
Yeah.
whether you're involved in politics, maybe you're able to get stuff more. If you're less involved, maybe you're just that neutral party. So there's going to be an argument, a case made for each side. I think the biggest deal is that and this is something that really doesn't matter. I think probably the biggest argument or concern is that maybe you disenfranchise some of the local residents. But if the local residents vote for you and are fine with it because they understand what's going on, as long as you've been upfront and honest about it, I don't think it matters.
Largely, I don't think so.
Well, this is the deal, Kyler, and I think this is a problem. This is a problem. What happens is there's a small group of people, and this is what term limits is, that says, hey, in term limits went out to the ballot, it was the voice of the people, but that say, hey, this is wrong. And they override what the people want. They're like, we shouldn't have people that are voting these people in year over year, and yet the people are voting the people in year over year, and then they're trying to limit themselves. We're saying, hey, if you're on the city council, you shouldn't be able to go and be involved in state politics at all. And yet this people voted in the person to be involved in city council. If the people don't like it, don't vote them in.
That's where I was going to get to, because you make a great point. If this is something that really does affect people and people have an issue with, maybe they don't at the start of the term, but come the end of it when they're up for re-election, if people are sick and tired of it, guess what?
Yeah.
You don't vote for them.
Right. That's there has to be a mindset shift where we stop going and saying, hey, let's put rules in place because we don't like the outcomes. And it's easier to go and sell the rule than it is to go and say, hey, this is, and I understand there's, with term limits specifically, the topic that comes up is incumbency and all that. Okay, then go and make the rules a little bit wider on what on what a candidate can do, or limit the incumbents a little bit more. Something like that still won't make it completely fair, but go and affect change there rather than limiting the voice of the people.
Sure. That's a reasonable point. I guess I just don't want to see it get too muddled as in a bigger scheme. And I think it's right now it's a pretty even point where it's at. I think it just, I agree largely that I don't want to limit the voters and force them in their hand. And you were mentioning to try to limit the incumbents because, well, in so many cases, this incumbent is entrenched in their district and they have a good role in their district party. And so they're going to be the person that the district nominates in year in and year out.
Yeah.
And then that comes back to our prior conversation then. At what point do the people that aren't involved in that district on a weekly, monthly basis that maybe are tired of this incumbent and they come in and this is the only person on the ballot because they don't want to vote for the other party?
Yeah.
And that's a
deal where people just need to get involved.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I feel like most of the problems that are represented around that simply come down to how involved are the people.
Sure. I think that's reasonable.
Daryl says, I'd rather know where they stand philosophically, politically, even in nonpartisan positions. Why would we be afraid to know their leanings or beliefs? Because that's what's going to influence their votes in those positions. And that is 1,000% true.
Yeah.
That is something that we have felt, and part of, and like locally, people voted and some are happy, some aren't, for the three people that came in, Rob Fuller, Scott Samuelson, and Mike Blessum, but you knew where they stood before they ever got there.
Yep.
They've been very open in their
wide
standings.
open with that.
Yep. And so if you're for that, that's great. And I think that drove a lot of the votes for the campaign.
Yeah. And one thing too, that you make a point, people need to get involved because there are only so many positions to be had across the state, but also if there's only so many people that are willing to take on those positions and those roles and run for them and campaign for them, you're only going to have a limited number of people to hold them.
There's a lot of positions.
There's a ton. So guess what? If you need, you're going, it's going to end up happening. People that are involved in this stuff are going to run for different things. It's part of the game. And it has to happen in some cases because you're going to have some rural areas where there's only a couple people that are willing to even do the job.
Yeah.
And so maybe on top of that, then a couple of those rural people still have to run their district as well.
Yeah.
And so there's again, if you, I think that is the bigger point. If you really want to see change, the best way to do it is to get involved.
Right. For sure. So, Jeff says city council should be able to be involved with any group they want. If you say they can't, it's diluting the involvement pool. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's fair.
I mean, you go and you look at it, and we're not picking on him, but we're using the example of Mike. But go to the other side of the aisle where somebody's involved in stuff. I would love to know that they were involved in stuff.
Yeah.
Whatever that might be. Because you're like, okay, I fully understand where this person comes from. Maybe I agree with that. Maybe I don't. But to someone try to keep all their political beliefs internal, and
you got to have some principles and let people know where you stand. And I don't think that there should be anything that bars someone from doing so. My only thing, as a nonpartisan elected official, there has to be, in your own mind, a sense of caution to understand that there is a potential that the optics could maybe look skewed in one area. But again, I think the bigger point is there need to be people involved. And if these are the people that are willing to do it, then good on them for doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. All right. So we were going to go and talk about one more topic, but let's just end here. Let's go and hit up the topic that you're dying to tell us about.
I mean, I could even make I could go do a whole half-hour video just breaking these numbers down. But technically between Friday afternoon and yesterday afternoon, Wednesday the 4th, I had a poll up and open for residents of Minot, likely voters in Minot on top of that, to gauge some interest on some big topics in the area.
Interesting.
And the big one that I had, I got 125 willing participants. Majority of them answered outside the auditorium on Tuesday. So what's a better place to find likely voters than at the polling place?
Yeah.
So I did 6 total questions. I asked them their opinion on city council as a whole, and Kelly Armstrong, Julie Fedoracek, and our 2 senators, Hoeven and Kramer. And then I also had, in my opinion, the big question: who is their current preference for mayor?
Big question right there.
So
you should have asked police chief too.
I should have thought of that. Yeah. I bet. So before we dive into it, one of the biggest takeaways in almost every section, the largest category is undecided or indifferent. So I can only imagine the police chief one would have been even higher than a lot of these. But
perhaps the names are not as known for that one.
Yeah. And that's one thing with some name recognition stuff is definitely seen with some of the lower ones. Julie Fedoracek, for instance, has definitely some, I would say the lowest name recognition. She had the highest percentage of undecided or indifferent people for her. And in that regard, she also, because of that split she has in such a high indifference, obviously her disapproval ratings are a little bit lower.
On the graphics on the screen.
Oh, you have them up. Look at that. There it is. So here we're looking at it. So these are the statewide figures, approval ratings. And from left to right, we have Governor Kelly Armstrong, who green is approval, red is disapproval. I didn't include the indifferent ones on the chart. This can just give you a good graphic of how their actual net approval ratings look. So Governor Kelly Armstrong right now in Minot is at a 17.1% approval rating. So it looks like his start to his governorship in Minot has been going very well. Next to him, you have Senator John Hoeven, who right now has about a minus 5% approval rating. He's a little underwater. However, though, with this poll, I had to do some math with this, and it looks like based on my figures, there's about a 9% margin of error. So that 5% could be 4% positive, or it
really
could
bad.
be 14% negative. It can go both ways in that regard, or a little bit in one direction. So and also with Hoeven having been the longest tenured state representative we have on that big scale, he had the lowest of any of the 5 that I polled indifference rating. So
To be fair though, when it comes to voting, people love him.
This is and here's one thing too, because I see that's one of my takeaways from this, because he has as of right now a negative disapproval, but it's probably a wash. It's probably an even thing. So I feel like it shows that even with the margin of error compared to what it was years ago, I think his people are starting to get a little bit more wary of having him in for as long as he's been in. I think he'll still probably win in the landslide in 2028. He's already announced his candidacy for it. He did, I think, a couple weeks after he won in 2022. He already filed the paperwork to do that. I remember seeing that. So expect that.
Well, next, I mean, he could withdraw.
He could, but I don't foresee it. Next to him, though, we have Congresswoman Julie Fedorchak. She, as of right now, like I was saying earlier, has the highest indifferent or unsure rating of any of them. But again, she has been a congresswoman for about 6 months. She right now has a net rating of about -8%. So people, again,
she took some heat though right away because of the town halls.
Yep.
Not because people felt like she went to DC and got disconnected.
Yep.
Which was honestly a little bit surprising, that outrage, because that's what.
If anything, I think Kramer and Hoeven should be targeted more than her.
Yeah, she didn't even have a chance yet.
No, and on top of that, too, like she's not doing in-person town halls, but she's at least doing virtual town halls.
She is.
If there's anyone that's getting heat on that issue of those three, she should be the ones getting the least amount of it.
Yeah.
But as of right now, she has a net -8% approval rating. And again, remember, these numbers are all based on people in Minot that were willing to take this poll.
Yeah.
And then finally, we have Senator Kevin Kramer, who, of all people I polled, has the highest disapproval rating. And he, as of right now, has a net -14.5% disapproval rating. So
this is not how these things are supposed to work.
No, and typically it's supposed to be pretty even, or they're supposed to be above water, especially when you're winning elections by 30-40% margins. So when you see these, I mean, again, 125 people polled. This is the only people that wanted to do it.
And you're talking about net. Typically, what you typically would see is like Armstrong has a 38% approval rating.
Yes.
That's typically the number you would see.
I'm taking, so I guess if you want to look at it that way, Kramer has what? About a 30% approval rating.
Right.
And about a 44% disapproval rating. So I'm looking at the net numbers when you take them both. He's about 14 points underwater.
Yeah.
And it's in Minot, but I think it just shows that maybe some of our long-term officials are starting to have a little bit of a waning in their popularity.
Yeah. So moving on.
Also, one last one on that.
Okay.
Federal people appear to have a lesser approval rating than the statewide officials.
Yeah.
Just an interesting little caveat with that.
Yeah. But the only statewide one that you did
Kelly
was Armstrong.
Yes.
And that guy early on is hard, like if you listen to him, people will enjoy talking to him. He's the one that's most connected to North Dakota. So I think that you can't have them on the same scale there.
That's true.
There's a lot of differences there.
And I think that also almost proves the point to an extent, because he is so local and he is so connected and he is so open. That's why you see those numbers pretty high so far.
Yeah, I believe that. But I don't remember that happening when he was out.
Congressman.
Yeah.
No, you're right there. Now,
He's
next
in
one.
DC.
Though. I also polled Minot's approval rating for city council. So I went and same thing. There was the 5 questions: strongly approve, indifferent, disapprove, strongly disapprove. The one thing with this, there was no one that strongly approved of council. It had a 30% approval and a 29% disapproval. So it's effectively a wash on this. It's pretty even. No one.
A lot of people don't know what's going on at council.
Yeah, that's the big thing, is there is a lot of indifferent people, and that indifference is pretty much a cop-out for not paying attention, disengaged.
Cop-out, man, he's going hard today.
But no, the big thing, Minot's, I think this shows that there's a lot of people that could be swayed one way or the other. If they have a really big success where they come together, this could boost it. And on the flip side, if they continue to have some deadlock and some 3-3 issues throughout the summer, you could possibly see these numbers shift, because I do plan to do another poll prior to the election in August.
Yeah.
So we'll see how these change over the next couple months here.
Also, we're going to be doing more opportunities for people to vote on stuff, just to collect data on interesting issues. So such as the police
chief that's on
police
the
chief.
website.
We're going to be releasing that here soon, so you're going to be able to go and vote for that. Another one that we might do is, as these discussions get tabled for a full council, we might go to the people and start seeing.
How would you vote on it?
Yeah, what do you guys?
What would your preference be on this?
How do you want to see it to go? Hopefully, give some data to the some unofficial data. That's one thing that needs to be mentioned. This is not like any official poll.
This was me going around, walking around,
not
asking
overly
people.
scientific.
No.
All right, the one that people probably are most interested in is next.
Yes, the big one.
All right.
The mayor.
Should we just not show it?
Yeah, we'll just keep the city council one out. But no, here is your polling for Minot's mayor race. As with, again, I've said this throughout, take it all with a grain of salt. But as of right now, 125 people did agree to it. That's also of the 1,933. I did the math. That's like 6% of that. So that's right in line with what Minot's overall turnout kind of tends to be like. So right now we're seeing Mark Janser in the lead at 32%, Rob Fuller in a close second at 29. Then we're seeing Paul Pittner at 15. Josiah Royce has 9.5, and then we have about 1 in 7 voters undecided right now at 14%. So
that undecided vote could, if any one person, which would almost be impossible, was to capture all those votes.
And you have to think about the margin of error in this as well. So if you combine that with the margin of error and someone gets half of that and they're on the low end of that margin, all of a sudden you're...
Could sway the election there.
Yeah, you can have... There's a potential to have upwards of 20 percentage points in voting out there still to be had.
Still pretty early on to really have this. It'll be interesting after the debate. Obviously, that's still a little bit early. Maybe go to... If there's some way to find Minot people at the fair...
That's going to be the plan, is fair time, and that week after is what I kind of plan on doing the next round of polling.
Right. And so be interesting to see what the data shows there, but it feels like it's, based off this, it feels like it's a 2-person race.
Based on the bar graph, it looks like that, but I think the underlying numbers show it can be anyone's race still.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
But obviously just looking at it, it's a 2-way race for the top as of right now.
Yeah.
But
so it looks like, but that's still very small.
Small sample size. It's me going around just asking people, trying to get it. I probably spoke to maybe 350 people. I got about 80 to say yes to it. So
gotcha.
Take that all with a grain of salt. But again, I think it at least shows.
And you got 125 votes. Interesting.
Yes.
80 people say yes.
That was live in person that I had say yes. Yeah. Like I was mentioning on Tuesday, I sent this to some people I know in town too.
Yeah.
As a start, people that I know that are engaged and willing to take it.
Right.
And then when I was out in person, I got roughly another 80 to take it there.
Gotcha. Very cool.
So that's where all those numbers come from. Again, take it all with a grain of salt, but I think it shows some good trends in where Minot's looking right now.
Very exciting, man.
I love it. I had a blast.
Well, it sounds like you did. The data is interesting, though.
It is.
Do you think this affects anyways campaigns?
No, not at all. I don't think at this stage anyone does. Just, I guess, full transparency, I did send it all, as I finished the article last night and had everything put together, I did send it to all 4 candidates at the same time. So, because I did publish the article late last night before I actually uploaded it to our socials and everything. So all the candidates, in theory, had access to it before it was widely publicly available. Just full caveat with that.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Well, exciting stuff.
It is. It's going to be a fun couple weeks here. Fun couple months, frankly.
Yeah.
We've got a lot coming up.
Do you know what's going on let me see if I can find out, on June 17th?
Oh, June 17th? That's a mayoral debate. It's hosted by the Dakotan. It's going to also be live on K-Hits 106.9.
That's cool.
Minot's freshly nostalgic radio station. It's going to be a great time.
That's pretty sweet.
I look so forward to doing it.
People were asking us, is it going to be on the radio too?
Yep. Jonathan was getting some questions.
I think it might be.
And guess what? Assuming everything works out as planned, it's going to be live on the radio.
Yeah, so you can be there in person. You can listen online, 106.9. You can listen on YouTube, or you can listen on Facebook. We'll have it 3 places, or you can go to our website directly, mydakotan.com, and we'll have it embedded there, where you'll be able to view it there.
Or, of course, show up in person. Mouse River Players Theater.
It's going to be a blast.
We want to have as many people as we can there to pack the house. And again, we have on our website, we have a submission area for questions for the candidates. So if you do have any questions, make sure you leave a comment there and let us know what you want us to ask the candidates.
We dropped that link earlier on this live stream as well. Will all candidates be participating, Kyler?
They are. They're confirmed to participate. We're going to have all 4. It's going to be Josiah Royce, Mark Janser, Paul Pittner, and Rob Fuller. All 4 are confirmed as of right now.
That's crazy.
We're less than 2 weeks away, dude. It's nuts.
Yeah, it's getting scary.
Yeah.
The question is, all the candidates are going to be participating. Mm-hmm. Will the residents of Minot participate?
That's
and
true.
I have faith they will.
I think so. How about this? We're giving them every opportunity to do so.
Yeah, for sure. So looking forward to that. June 17th, Miles River Players Theater, 6 p.m. doors open. You can meet the candidates, grab some appetizers. 7 p.m. the debate begins.
Yep. And again, so June 13th, Straight Up and Toasted event downtown. Make sure you check that out. We'll mention that again
in a moment. I did go and run a little wheel.
Oh, go ahead.
Actually, let's do it this way. Let's go and do the
I don't know what's going on right now. Oh, we're going to mention the Straight Up and
Straight Up
Toasted
and
event again.
Toasted is June 13th. Enjoy a great evening of signature bourbon, great cigars, and other spirits, along with a chance to bid on great prizes, including a VIP tour of the Neely Distillery in Sparta, Kentucky. Tickets still available on downtownminot.com. That's
Go ahead.
happening from 5 p.m. to 10 p.m. on June 13th.
And make sure you leave a comment down below. One lucky winner is going to receive a pair of tickets to the event.
Yeah. Well, should we do it right now? Should we just announce the winner? Because I've ran the wheel.
Oh, that's what the wheel's for. The wheel's for the winner.
We
Right.
have a name.
Sorry, don't comment anymore. Yes, we have a winner. Jonathan's going to announce it right here. Drum
And the
roll,
winner
please.
is- I don't even know if you can hear that.
I wonder if they can. The mic probably doesn't let you see.
Jeff Hader.
Yeah, Jeff. Yay!
Whoop whoop. Way to go, Jeff.
Congrats, Jeff. If you want 2 tickets, we'll send you a message here coming up, and we'll get you. The
Yeah,
info
stop
to-
by Northern Century.
Yeah.
Northern Century, excuse me, and you can pick that up. So
Congratulations, Jeff.
very
Hopefully
exciting.
we'll see you there.
Oh yeah, Kyla, we'll see you there.
Yeah.
Should be a great time. This has been a great time today. We're going to be back on Tuesday at 9 a.m. Maybe we'll finally get a guest back. I don't know. We kind of enjoyed these.
We've been rocking it the past couple
forms,
weeks.
though.
Yeah.
But we will work on getting. There's some big stuff going on with the school. That's on June 11th. There's a actual probably going to be an executive session meeting that we won't be able to hear the details of concerning negotiations with the teachers. But we are tracking that. We are trying to get somebody on about that, but it sounds like people want to stay pretty quiet until after negotiations ended,
finalized
which
and
makes
finished.
sense, but it's
Yep.
kind of a bummer. So that's something we are following. There's other stuff going on. We'll be back on Tuesday. Looking forward to it.
You betcha. Love it.
Absolutely. Thanks for watching today's episode, and make sure to have a great rest of your day.
Boom.